So I'm here with Maureen this afternoon, and Maureen has been at the center of NJACP's budget advocacy for, let's say, many years, right?
We'll just say many.
Maureen, can you explain why budget advocacy has been such an important part of NJACP's overall advocacy efforts?
Budget advocacy is really at the heart of what we do at NJACP. Decisions made in Trenton are going to impact the services and supports that our members can provide to people in the community. So that means that the budget process will provide funding so that people can live in the community, integrated into the community with dignity.
Can you walk us through, the state budget process? People think they understand, but it really is quite complex. Can you walk us through what the state budget process entails and then how people can get involved in that?
The state budget process in New Jersey begins for the IDD community in the fall before the preceding fiscal year. Our state runs on a fiscal year from July 1st to June 30th. So in the fall of the year prior to July 1st, the Department of Human Services will hold a budget listening session. And at that session, the public can comment on what they think should be in the FY, we'll say 27 budget for this year. So NJACP did do that this year. We commented and we had members testify as to what they think the priorities should be. After the listening session, which is where the department they listen to stakeholders so that they can determine what it is that they're going to request from the governor's office. So after that, we're in January, and that's when the governor is beginning to prepare, in this case, her budget. When the governor prepares her budget, NJACP advocates to her office to let her know what the priorities should be for the IDD community in the budget. Then the governor prepares her budget. We've done some advocacy. The governor's preparing her budget. We meet with her office. We meet with the Department of Treasury. And then the governor will announce her proposed budget and hold a budget address. Typically, that takes place in late February, but because we have a new governor this year, that will be on March 10th. So after the governor releases her budget, that's when the budget advocacy really picks up. The legislature will hold hearings where the public can comment to the legislative budget committees about what they think are the priorities. And then the budget committees will consider what they've heard. And then they will also take testimony from each department. Like the Department of Human Services, the commissioner will testify at a hearing, probably in early spring, and will answer questions and defend the governor's budget proposal. At these hearings, the public is not invited. However, it's not invited to comment. However, we can attend, and we do attend to show our support for our budget ask. And then in the meantime, between all of these budget hearings and what the legislature is doing and the governor's office is doing, NJACP is meeting with legislators, policymakers, and people in the governor's office and the Department of Treasury to let them know what we think needs to be done in the FY27 budget so that people can live in the community and have adequate funding to do so. So we come to June and late May. At that time, NJACP usually holds an advocacy day at the State House. And that is because that's a prime time for the decisions to be made at the level of the governor and the legislative leadership. So they've done all of their listening to stakeholder comments. We've done all of our due diligence, meeting with legislators and talking to people that we need to talk to. And our members have advocated and reached out to all of these offices as well. So at that point, they see us at the State House and they know that we are very engaged in what we're asking for. And after that comes June, and then we continue to have conversations with the leadership. At that point, about the second or third week of June, we can assume that the legislative leadership and the governor are meeting and talking about what exactly is going to end up in the final budget bill. Now, some years, that's a negotiated budget. That's when the governor and the legislature come together and agree on what's going to be in the budget. That is the usual practice. There have been years where that doesn't happen, and either one or the other disagrees on a major point, and that is when we have something called like a government shutdown. We don't know what to anticipate this year because we have a new governor with new priorities. So I think we'll find out, though, with the governor's budget address on March the 10th.
So you can see that Maureen knows her stuff. She knows the budget process. She knows all the access points. She knows the important dates and when to get involved. Can you explain what exactly NJACP is asking for in this year's budget and why this year this ask is so critically important?
This year, NJACP is asking for a 3% across the board cost of living increase. That is what we call a COLA. And this COLA will support services and supports in the community. It will provide for DSP wage increases. It will provide for housing for individuals. And most importantly, also, it will provide capacity. It will let us to increase capacity in the community so that we can address the waiting list that we have here in New Jersey. We have over 5,000 people on a community services residential waiting list. We want to make sure that there's enough funding there so that people can move into the community and not have to stay home, and families won't go to work. People stay home, they're isolated. So it's very critical that the 3% funding goal is in the governor's budget.
So now we understand the budget process. We understand the budget ask. How do we get members involved in that advocacy? And why is that so important? And what does NJACP do to encourage members to use their voice in budget advocacy?
You know, even more important than NJACP talking to legislators and leadership are the members that speak to legislators and leadership. That is because legislators love to hear from people that are in their districts or doing business in their districts. And that is most critical. When they hear from their constituents, they are much more likely to act on something that you're asking for. We have to do our part, of course, and what we try to do to make it as easy as possible for members is to provide talking points or testimony. And we also help to set up and coordinate meetings with legislators. We're happy to do that at any time. And we are happy to attend with members as well. So we really do try to come together with members and legislators and policymakers and talk about why we need the 3% COLA this year. And anybody that reaches out to us, they can reach out to me. I'm happy to help you set up a meeting with a legislator, or it can be virtual, in person, anything, that you're comfortable with. So we also have what we call for action. We send out usually they're electronic or virtual calls for action. We have a tool called Voter Voice. You can put your address into this tool and we give you a pre-scripted message that you can use or not use. We give you talking points as well. So if you're not comfortable with the message there, you can erase it or add to it or delete from it, whatever it is that you're comfortable with. So we're hoping that members will take advantage of this tool and use it as much as possible. The trick with this tool is that you can use it one day, and after 24 hours, you can send another message. So you're not really beholden to one message, and we like that as well, because in some legislative offices, they count the number of messages that come through. So the more the messages that they see, the more they know that that issue is a priority. So we're hoping that our members will answer our most recent call for action, which is to the governor's office to support the 3% across the board COLA increase.
So all of this is incredibly important. And listening to you, Maureen, and knowing your engagement in budget advocacy for so many years, what would be your final message? Listening to it, it's we're here to make it as easy as possible, but we need your voice. But I want to hear from you. What is your one message to our membership about budget advocacy? And this year they need to step up.
I would say It's actually a couple-fold answer. We have a new governor. We don't know her priorities. It's important that she hear our voice. Our voice is your voice. So the louder that we are, the more she will hear. The legislature still needs to hear from us. We have new assembly folks from our last election in the assembly this year, and we don't know their priorities either. So until they hear from us, they don't know that we're here. So it's really, really important for us to talk to them directly. And that means through calls for action, through visits, through letters, through phone calls, anything that you're comfortable doing, we are willing, more than willing and happy to help with.
Thank you so much, Maureen, for your due diligence, your advocacy, and your passion for this important process and being such a passionate advocate for our members.
Well, it's easy when you're advocating for these issues. Mhm.